every day. But the sad part about it is, which we briefly talked about, is shouldn't I have just got this from the food that I ate? Right? Why would I go through that? That's ridiculous. Well, the reason is, we talked about it briefly, is that the foods do not contain these organic complexes anymore. Why? But at no fault of yours or mine. We can't stop that. But the truth is, even though we can't stop it, it's happened. So what's the answer? Well, I don't know. I mean, right now it looks like carbon bond technology. And maybe some others will come. Maybe there'll be 10 others. Maybe there'll be 50 others. And I welcome it. And this is all I do. I live and breathe carbon bond technology to try to figure out how to make things more digestible, more soluble, more efficacious, to have the body have the ability to absorb and utilize something. Isn't that why we're all here? Because we want to take nutrition and nutrients that are what? Not end up in the toilet. And then the other thing is, now you understand a little bit about what? Synthetic chemical nutrients. Synthetic chemical nutrients. Right? Now you understand that synthetic chemical nutrients are what 95% of everything is made of. Synthesized in a lab. So we don't want that. So I thought, well, there's got to be something else. What is that something else? Well, I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm continuing to work on it. Carbonics, the Drucker Labs difference, our proprietary carbon bond and cold fill technology. It is really unique. It is uniquely dedicated to a cold filtering and cold filling manufacturing process unlike anything you've ever seen in your life. Drucker Labs' proprietary cold filter and cold fill processing produces 100% organically bound nutrients, preserving maximum nutritional integrity and potency of each and every nutrient. Now, before I run out of time, there is something that comes to my mind, and something that I think that is highly worth us talking about. Everything that we do is, we understand liquids, right? We want liquids. We want liquids. I get conversations and talks all the time. Do I want a tablet? Can I handle a capsule? Oh, it's liquid, okay, it's a little better. But I want you to understand that not all liquids are made the same. And what's the other negative thing in a liquid? I mean, I'm not trying to put in, but what is it? It exists. It's okay to talk about it. What's the negative about a liquid? Everything has positive and negative. If somebody says it doesn't, don't walk, run. Thank you. It's preservation. So back to the FDA. So the Food and Drug Administration says, well, listen, you need potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate. Anybody hear of those? Okay, so we're used to them, right? We just accept them. It's just part of our day. It's part of our night. It's what we do. We ingest potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate. And we said, oh my God, no, I don't think so. That doesn't sound good to me. That's a chemical. It's a synthetic chemical. So you mean I go through all this trouble of carbon bonding and doing all this for all these years so that I can add potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate? Well, no. No. That's not cool. That's not okay. That's not how we roll. That's not the way I want the body to. I don't want any amount of that in anything that we manufacture. So I spent the last 7 years creating IntraFresh technology. IntraFresh technology is a brand new technology, whereas we do not utilize potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate. It's unheard of. It is absolutely unheard of. Food and Drug Administration said, you're crazy, it's not going to happen. 7 years later, 7.5 years-ish later, they said, hey, we're sick of seeing you. Really, how's the kids? We don't, and our attorneys. And they did not want, they just said no. Year after year after year after year. It was just no, 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 no. Love you, man, but no, no, no. It's not potassium sorbate and sodium. Why? Because those two things are on the what list? Thank you. So potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate are on the GRAS list. And you're saying IntraFresh technology. I don't see that on the GRAS list. What is that? Oh, it doesn't have sorbate, no chemicals at all? It can't possibly work. It can't work. Well, I had to prove to them through white papers, through research, through studies. They said, well, if we're going to approve of something and somebody gets sick, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So they put us through the ringer. They literally put Drucker Labs through the ringer. And we just kept going back each year, each year, each year, each year. Eventually, 7 years later, they said, okay, like, I don't want to see you next year. That's number one. And number two, I understand, we understand you produced enough science, enough evidence at this stage that we are now proving your IntraFresh technology as a preservation system in the United States of America. And that took us from one state to another state. Everything that we do at Drucker Labs contains IntraFresh technology. IntraFresh technology contains no preservation whatsoever in terms of chemical load. There's no chemicals whatsoever. It's unheard of, but it's there. It's real, it's now, it's happening, and we don't want that in our bodies. We don't want what? What would be the point of taking carbon bond technology and then we're like trace amounts of like, I don't know, potassium sorbate, sodium benzoate, so it can accumulate in extracellular space and interstitial fluid and fatty tissue. That doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, our competitors are doing other things, but we are dedicated to a preservation-free concept that will keep the bottle not just a year. We had to prove that it would go 2 years. The maximum FDA will give us is 1 year on preservation. We had to show and prove to them that it could go 2 years. If you use potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate, it could go for 1 year and 1 day. Their goal. That's fine. But we had to prove 364 more days, and it still grew nothing. And yet, it was still all organically bound and polymerized by carbon. So, that's a beautiful thing. Carbon compounds are fundamental to nutrition. I got 5, right? 10? Take 5 at least? Okay. Huh? Yeah, okay. Carbon compounds are fundamental to nutrition and are essential for the growth and maintenance of all living organisms, proteins, carbs, and fats. These nutrients are vital for energy production, cell structure, metabolic processes. The quality and nutritional value of food are directly linked to the presence and balance of these carbon compounds. Ensuring that adequate intake of carbon-rich nutrients is crucial for maintaining health and preventing nutritional deficiencies. So we already talked about this next slide. We talked about it like a long time ago. That's sort of me on a bad hair day, I guess, maybe, I don't know. But we talked about what synthetic chemical nutrients are and why we don't want them. They're very expensive to manufacture. They're synthetic chemicals. They're made in a lab. There's a misconception about them. But bottom line is, you wouldn't want to wear fake leather shoes every day. Why? Because your feet would stink and eventually the shoes would crack and you have to throw them out. You can get yourself a nice pair of leather shoes for probably $200-300, but it'll last a lifetime. Take care of them. Big difference between something inert, synthetic, and something that's manufactured in a lab and something that came from an animal. Very different. Very different. Why? The inert shoe has what? Carbon 8. The animal has, thank you. So you can resole that thing. I don't care how many times you can polish it, take it to the shoe store. You can do whatever you want. But you can't do that with an inert, something inert just cracks. I mean, your feet stink. It doesn't even absorb moisture. Right? So we just want to keep in mind, synthetic chemical nutrients are here. Your job is to recognize them. Your job is to understand that there's a better, more efficient way to ingest and receive nutrition, since it's not where? In the food supply. We should never be in this state. This is ridiculous, but we are. So because we are, we're looking for answers. We're looking for ways to get nutrients and nutrition into our body without any negative or side effect, because that's the whole point of why we're doing nutrients. Then we find out there's all these side effects to everything that we're doing. More about that. Everybody knows about a colloid. We talked about colloids last year. I only have a few minutes, but you guys understand that colloids are not necessarily a good thing. What? They're inert. It's a particle between what? 1 and 100 nanometers in particle size. Doesn't sink to the bottom of the solution, doesn't float to the top. It is what? Suspended. And if something is suspended, it's a fairly large particle, and it's inert. So people come to me every day in some capacity. Oh, I just had colloidal silver. Oh, I just had colloid this. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, there is a potential that could accumulate in extracellular space, interstitial fluid, and fatty tissue. Why? It's inert. It's a rock. Well, we know rocks are inert. Why would we do that? So evidence has shown that it what? Accumulates. And we're here to get it out and get things in that we want in. That's the idea behind colloids. So we take these minerals, and these minerals are absolutely critical to our bodies. Minerals are the function of life. Linus Pauling, two-time Nobel Prize winner. Every ailment, every sickness, and every disease can be traced back to what? An organic mineral deficiency. Every ailment, 72nd Congress, second session, Linus Pauling. Every ailment, every illness, and every disease can be traced back to an organic trace mineral deficiency. He didn't say colloidal. He didn't say that. And then he had to explain, well, I didn't realize, for me, I didn't understand what he meant by the word organic. I thought it was like pesticide-free minerals, blah, blah, blah. Only to realize that's not what he meant. He meant carbon-based. Every ailment, every sickness, and every disease can be traced back to an organic trace mineral deficiency, carbon-based minerals. What is carbon? Organic. If you look up, there's two definitions to the word organic. One is containing carbon, and the other one is a cool substance that doesn't have any synthetics, pesticides, things like that. So two versions of that. Anyway, intramen is the neuroelectrical spark of life. It's what the basis of carbon bond technology is all about. So I encourage you to understand organic minerals. I encourage you to see a real organic mineral for the first time in your life. It's right here. It's called intramen. And that's what saved my life. Intramen is the one thing, I didn't have Intramax yet. It took me 15 years to figure out how to attach a mineral, to attach carbon to a mineral. They said it couldn't be done. It's not scientifically possible. You can't. You can't do that. I did it. It took me 15, if I told